Growing up in a rural border parish, I was conscious from a young age of that division on our doorstep across local communities. Politically, the border was always an issue for us. Today, the border is hardly noticeable. It is practically invisible, as people from both sides move freely across it as they do their daily business. For upwards of 20 years, we have seen a process of normalisation as people from all communities slowly and progressively build up relationships across what was once a dangerous frontier. I saw this both as a TD from a border constituency, but also as Agriculture Minister. In that role, I saw how much common interest farmers across the border had, as referred to by Minister McEntee, and how the EU was a means of both recognising and addressing these common concerns. At political and official level, we worked together. Last Thursday's vote caused a political earthquake, and it will take time for the consequences to become clear. The return of the border, this time as an external boundary of the European Union, is not a development any of us want to see or one that we can envisage. It is something that the majority, 56% of the people of Northern Ireland, voted against. Indeed, the Remain vote was higher in the northern border counties, with 63% voting Remain in Uri and Armagh and 58.6% voting Remain in Fermanagh and South Tyrone. We need to recognise the harm and damage that could be done by running an EU frontier through communities that have already suffered too much from divisions over many decades. Indeed, we should also recognise that the EU is a particular force for good in making that border irrelevant, not least through the almost €2 billion in EU peace funds dispersed on peace and reconciliation projects in the north and the southern border region since 1995. This important initiative was driven by the former EU Commission President Jacques Delors, who is a man of vision and a deep believer in the EU's communautaire doctrine of interdependence and the need to protect and safeguard the interests of smaller nations. Though I deeply regret the decision of Britain to vote to leave, and I share the concerns voiced by many members here at the tone and conduct of the Leave campaign, we should ignore the reality that the EU has not always made it easy for those of us who believe in our membership to defend it. We cannot have self-appointed subgroups of countries issuing comments masqueraded as the EU position, such as the remarks from the foreign ministers of the 6 founding EEC member states at the weekend. Ireland's views on the implications of the Brexit are as important, indeed are more important, than any of those of the original 6. As our former colleague and Minister for European Affairs, Dick Roche, has said today in a very good opinion piece on the Euroactive website, and I quote, "Separating the UK and the EU27 will be complex and messy. It will be in everybody's interest to ensure that the process goes ahead as smoothly as is possible. Anything that smacks of hectoring, bullying, impatience or disrespect will make a bad situation worse, will play to those forces who wish to portray the Union as a project driven by remote elites, and will feed the poison that has already entered into the public perception of the Union in far too many member states. The tone that is adopted in the separation talks will be vital. Any suggestion that Britain must be put through the ringer to discourage other member states from following in the same direction should be shunned. The European project will overcome the current challenges and thrive only if it re-establishes itself as a union of equals, a family of nation-states who voluntarily pool some elements of their sovereignty to achieve a common purpose. Others have also recognised the danger, not least the EU Council President Donald Tusk. As recently as the beginning of June, Mr Tusk was warning EU leaders, and in particular the EU Commission, in the starkest of terms, that their utopian illusions are tearing Europe apart, and that any attempt to seize on Brexit to force through yet more integration would be a grave mistake. But he did not stop there. He warned EU leaders, particularly the German Chancellor Angela Merkel and the European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker, that they were, and I quote, obsessed with the idea of instant and total integration. But we fail to notice that ordinary people, the citizens of Europe, do not share our Euro enthusiasm, unquote. The disconnect between the EU project as viewed from those at the top and the will of the people on the ground is growing. It is not alone what pushed the UK out of Europe, but it is a factor, and it is one which we in this House will need to keep in our minds as we struggle through the next 2 to 3 years of uncertainty and upheaval. We are duty-bound to investigate every option to reduce the damage ahead. There are serious ramifications for everyone on all of this island. We cannot return to the era of obstacles and impediments to the free movement of people, goods or services. We need jobs on this island, not borders. As Minister Humphreys referred to earlier, the economy and the like of constituencies like Cavan Monaghan are very much dependent on interaction north and south. And I have to say, going home from the Monaghan Donegal game, walking through Cavan Town on Saturday evening, having been at the match to cheer on Monaghan, I have to say that apart from people talking about the good quality of the game, they were equally exercised with the desperate decision that was made by the electorate in Thursday's referendum. There is a real fear of Caherlig, and I will conclude, in our region about the implications, the border controls, that we would be back to an era that we had all thought we had put long behind us.
Thank you,
Caherlig.